court confirmation hearings begin today for Judge Sonia Sotomayor, and some people say her biggest issue will be proving she can apply the law firmly without bias to any group. Now, I find it extraordinary because, you know, people are always grilled very hard by every side, and I think this is going to be no different. This is going to be, I don't think this is, you know, a lot of people are saying, oh, it's the Democrats versus the Republicans, but I actually think people are concerned about how the law is going to be applied because they all got scared when she said, you know, a smart Latina woman would you know,
probably a wise Latina woman with the richness of her experience would often.
A wise Latina would come to a better conclusion than a white man about certain things, maybe, that apply to a wise Latina.
Well, I think what she's talking about probably are things like the affirmative action laws, being pro-choice or pro-whatever. I think those are the things she's talking about. And when you look at the judgments of the courts over the years, I thought that they've been pretty smart and pretty good. They haven't been as out there as they were when we were kids because, you know.
But things have to be interpreted also. I always find this odd. How do you say, oh, strict constitutional law without an interpretation? When they wrote all men are created equal, they left out white men and women. So now people have to make the adjustment to that.
They left out white men? You said they left out white men?
Black men and women, sorry.
There's black men.
Fix that up,
they left out real men.
You also have to understand that that is their job. They take an oath to, without bias, prejudice, etc., have that pure interpretation of the law. And I think that's what everyone is asking of her. You know, President Obama had said that he, in looking for someone for this position, wanted someone who had empathy, who could understand someone else's situation.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
I think empathy is a very important quality. Yeah. I also don't believe it has a place on the bench of the Supreme Court because I don't think so, because what it does is it puts in emotion. When you're interpreting our law, okay, emotion shouldn't be there. And empathy also makes it not only emotional, but also personal. I understand you and where you're coming from because I've been there. Therefore, like if you're judging something, okay, if the law says you shall not drive drunk, okay, you pull someone over, it's your job to judge whether someone else has been driving drunk or not. They pull over, drunk, driving, you say, you know what, I've been there. I had too many to drink. I got in my car. I put the keys in. Wait a minute.
You still broke the law. Here's the ticket.
No, if you apply that and you don't come out with the conclusion that says, you know what, though, I understand it, so I'm going to let you off.
I don't think that's logical.
What they want from her is strict interpretation of the law, pure interpretation of the law, minus the empathy, and I think that's fair.
When you say pure interpretation, I mean, you have all these different people coming from. I think of Thurgood Marshall when he became a Supreme Court justice. Now, he came from a place his ancestors were slaves, so he's got something before him. He's bringing his interpretation to a case. I mean, you just can't help it. I mean, you use one example.
If you're a justice on the Supreme Court.
You use one. We use, let's say, I don't know, the Gina 6 thing, you know, instead of the drunk driving. So I think somebody else is going to come from a whole different place and looking at this situation with 5 young black men who are getting discriminated against. I think it would be a different situation than for white men.
But if you're not getting a job, wait a minute, if you're not getting a job because you're black, it's not the same as being drunk. You're not breaking the law.
If you are look at the case in Connecticut.
That's a completely different
argument. What about the firefighters case when she thought that that affirmative action did
interpreting the law the way it was written.
She was overturned.
She did exactly what you said she should do.
No, she was actually. People are concerned with her that she's going to interpret based on her own quotes. Okay, that she's going to interpret the law based on her own experience, apply empathy, and come out with a conclusion that is not in sync with the law.
That's not what her record shows. And Samuel Alito, by the way, Samuel Alito, who's an Italian-American, he has stated publicly, I think, from my experience as an Italian-American male. I mean, no one's jumping all over him.
As long as the ruling, look, all I would want in most Americans is that the law is read in its pure state.
But for Sotomayor, I believe she had 96 cases of discrimination and she rejected 76 of them. So, I mean, just her track record alone says that she's going by the interpretation of the law.
But when someone is using the word empathy, I don't think it has a place on the bench.
I think it doesn't have, you have to, I think you can't help but go from your experiences.
Yeah, you can.
Because, you know, one of the reasons that the that the body has sort of done some of the things that they've done were because of the things that they had seen or the things they had grown up with, things that they felt were wrong and could be changed. I think you must always say to people, yes, as you were pointing out, I know how you're feeling, I went through this, but as the law sits right now, it cannot be changed because of X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, otherwise you're just a machine and we could just get a computer to do it. So you can say to people, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but does that make this right for the whole, for everybody? Maybe not.
But
You know
also,
what I'm saying?
don't you think also that white men have sat on the court for centuries, that they have not come from a white male perspective, which has eliminated black people, Asians, a lot of them, women. I mean, they come from a white male perspective.
I absolutely think that's wrong too. If they had empathy for men in their situation and thought, I have empathy for the white guy who's not maybe getting the job because of affirmative action, I don't believe in that either. That's why I think you need to remove that. I don't think it's right though. Just because someone has done something before doesn't make it right now. I think that empathy needs to be removed.
That's what affirmative action is about, though.